Fully disclaimer, I am not another photography expert in YouTube. I am a coffee roaster and a barista who loves photography.
Today in this video, I'm going to explain you about the use of color filter in black and white photography. Now, those who have been doing black and white film photography, you already know about this subject. So this video is not for those who are really experienced. This video is specifically for those who are getting into the black and white photography. However, it also works for digital photography, digital black and white photography. And there are cameras do exist dedicated to black and white photography, especially the Hasselblad or even Leica monochrome. So even though the whole video is going to be about film, but you can apply exact same thing in digital. Now, it's not about just a digital black and white camera. It's also when you get into softwares like Lightroom, Capture One, or any dedicated photo editing software, you will see that there are things called black and white red, monochrome red, green, blue, etc. And you must be wondering like what they do. I do have a bunch of filters with me. For example, so I've got a red filter, I've got a green, yellow, and orange. Now, what they do in black and white photography, in film photography, back in the day, people used to put these at the front of the lens. What they do is still going to give you black and white images. However, it's going to be a lot different than the neutral black and white. It's going to be the color spectrum going to change. Simply, for example, I do have a color chart right there. Now, in color chart, I'm going to show you an example. How does it work? Now, what I've done to make you understand how the color filter works, I did kind of a scientific experiment. What I did, I took a photo of that color chart, and I took a photo without any color filter. Then I changed the color filter to see exactly what they do. And I put them up, load them up in Affinity Photo to show you side by side exactly what they do. Now, let's take a look at Affinity Photo where I uploaded all the photos. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so that you can see properly. Now, the image you are looking at right now, this image is taken without any color filter. The film that I've used, it's a neutral film. It's Fujifilm Acros 2. So it's generally in the neutral side for each color spectrum. So which means not a specific color will manipulate anything. It should be a nice graduation from dark to the bright. Now, I'm going to put the original images right next to it. There you go. Now you can see that in each color checker from white to the black, it has a nice graduation. Then each color, like blue, green, red, they kind of stayed neutral in a sense. They do have a different level of grayness, however, nothing extreme. Now, let me show you the photo that I've taken with red filter. Now, let's change it. Now, you see immediately there is a huge change. Let me, on the side, show you a color circle. Now, you're going to understand exactly what is happening here. Now, check this one out. What is happening? All the spectrum from the yellow to the red are standing out. For example, in the color checker, let me zoom in a little bit so that you can see exactly side by side. There you go, should be nice and big enough for you. Now, the red one definitely bright, and any red spectrum, yellow stayed bright. The pink remained bright. all the skin tone. For example, check out my hand next to the blue and aqua. That's generally resemble to the skin tone. And check out the far right at the bottom, also resemble to the skin tone, remain bright or neutral. So what that means? That means that all the red spectrum, generally the skin tone, the red sand, the tree, all the bright red area will stand out. However, there is another thing. This filter has been used to darken the sky, darken the blue sky. That's important, or the shadow. So if you take a look at the blue, all the blue got super dark. Literally, every single blue got dark. The darkest one is the actual blue, followed by the light blue. The aqua remained quite dark. Let me show you back and forth between neutral and the original. So that's the neutral one. Take a look. The blue, everything remained neutral. Then we change it to the red filter. Immediately it became quite different, simply contrasty. So red filter actually good for darkening the sky because it's blue, or anything blue will go down, anything between yellow to the red will go up. So it's basically just let in all the red spectrum. Quite interesting. It's useful for flat day to boost the contrast. It's useful for any kind of portrait photography. I mean, any kind of contrasty images, black and white images, this red filter helps a lot. Now, let's move on to the green filter. Now, green filter, I got a little bit surprised. The reason why, because I was expecting green color to be more bright, just like it did with the red, but it didn't. It remained kind of neutral. What I understand, this green filter is not dark green. It's quite light. I understand. So therefore, it didn't really help. However, though, look at the blue. So I'm gonna go back and forth. So it still made the blue quite dark, but nothing extreme, to be honest with you. So it didn't do much of a huge change between the red to the green. But however, if I had a darker green, things would have been different, but I don't have it. But why is used for? It's generally used for greenery, like a green landscapes. Green vegetation kind of stands out, which is very useful in landscape photography as well as vegetation photography. Now, moving on to one of the most used filter in the world in black and white film photography, which is the yellow filter. Yellow filter is basically overused like no tomorrow, right? And you must be wondering why. Is used because, as you can clearly see, is not as extreme as the red filter. I'm gonna go back and forth. So that's before the neutral, and that is the red filter. And then just to show you the difference between the red and yellow, there you go. That's the red filter. That's the yellow filter. As you can clearly see, yellow filter did pretty much the same as the red filter. However, it's less extreme. So it did boost up the contrast, made the blue darker, made the between the yellow till the red kind of brighter, but it didn't remain completely. It also let the other color in. So it technically, in the red, green, and blue spectrum, it let in every single color, 50% of it. So what happened is that it boosted up the contrast, but nothing extreme. So it's useful for almost everything. Generally, you should be able to use yellow filter without any kind of extreme stress. It works almost in everything. Now, orange filter. So what the orange filter does though? You must be wondering. So put it this way, simply speaking, orange remains between the red and the yellow, meaning that it's not as extreme as red. However, it's not as forgiving as yellow. It still make the blue darker. It still boost up the red spectrum. But however, it also let the other color in. It's very useful for sunset, for example, because generally the sunset tends to be orange spectrum, so it helps. Also works in a very dull, flat day. Unfortunately, I don't have a blue filter. In my packet, I got everything, but without any blue filter, so I cannot show you an example. I could show you an example in the software though, but I wanted to make it as authentic as possible by taking images with film and put this filter in front of it to show you a real life experience, not like a digital representation. Nothing wrong with it, but the whole idea of the filter, it came from the film photography era. So unfortunately, I don't have the example. If anybody has an example, try it out. Buy yourself a set of filter, put it on in front of your film camera, take some photos and compare side by side. I promise you, you will be very surprised. Just verbally, without any photographic example, what it does, blue filter makes the blue sky brighter, obviously, because it's going to let all the blue spectrum in, including the shadow, because shadow generally is cold or blue and bright area generally warmer. So the shadow will be a lot brighter and all the red to yellow spectrum will be a lot darker. So if you take a photo with the blue filter, take a photo of yourself, you'll be laughing at yourself because your skin will all of a sudden become super dark and quite weird, to be honest with you. Now, there you go. That what is about the use of filter in black and white photography. I hope I managed to explain a little bit. There are many other photos examples available in YouTube. I highly recommend you to go and see them. Also, test it. Test it yourself and you will learn much better than watching other videos. With that in mind, look after yourself. I see you very soon and bye-bye.